Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had experienced countless incredible moments in his career, from wrestling championships to blockbuster movie premieres. But there are times when the most extraordinary events happen in the most unexpected places, like the aisle of an airplane. This is the story of how one simple act of kindness unraveled into something truly unforgettable. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. It began on a sunny afternoon as The Rock arrived at the bustling airport. He had just wrapped up filming his latest action thriller and was looking forward to a much-needed break. His assistant had booked him a first-class seat, ensuring he could relax and enjoy some peace before reaching his destination. As usual, the airport was teeming with travelers, some recognizing him instantly and flashing shy smiles or snapping a quick photo from a distance. The Rock, ever the people's champion, waved and greeted those who approached him, his signature smile lighting up the terminal. Boarding was soon announced, and he made his way to the gate. Upon stepping into the aircraft, the luxurious first-class cabin welcomed him with spacious seats and impeccable service. He settled into his spot by the window, adjusting his oversized frame comfortably. The journey promised to be smooth and uneventful, or so he thought. Minutes before the doors closed, The Rock noticed a commotion in the economy section. Peering down the aisle, he saw an elderly man in a military uniform standing quietly, his posture straight despite the lines of age etched into his face. It was clear this man had served his country, and the modest pins on his chest hinted at years of dedication and sacrifice. He clutched his boarding pass, and his gaze scanned the crowded economy cabin, looking for his assigned seat. A flight attendant appeared to be explaining something to him, and though her voice didn't carry to where The Rock was seated, her apologetic expression said it all. Without hesitation, The Rock rose from his seat. His imposing figure made heads turn as he walked down the aisle, towering over the passengers. As he approached the elderly veteran, the man looked up, startled but polite. "Sir, is everything all right?" The Rock asked, his deep voice gentle. The flight attendant hesitated, then explained, "We're experiencing a seating issue. This gentleman was inadvertently given a seat that's now unavailable. We are working to find a solution, but the flight is quite full." The veteran quickly interjected, "It's no trouble. I can wait for the next flight if need be." Hearing those words, The Rock shook his head firmly. "Absolutely not," he said. "Sir, you're not going anywhere but right here in first class. Come with me." The veteran blinked, caught off guard. "Oh no, I couldn't." "Yes, you can," The Rock interrupted, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You've done far more for us than I ever could. It's my honor to give you this seat." With that, The Rock led the veteran to his first-class seat, ignoring the murmurs of astonishment around him. As the man settled into the plush chair, gratitude shining in his eyes, The Rock grabbed his carry-on bag and headed back toward the economy cabin. A murmur of applause rippled through the plane, and passengers couldn't resist pulling out their phones to capture the moment. The Rock found an open seat near the back of the plane, his knees almost comically wedged against the seat in front of him. Despite the cramped space, he was all smiles. He waved off the concerned flight attendants who offered to move him to a more comfortable spot, insisting that he was perfectly fine where he was. As the flight took off, the veteran's emotions began to sink in. Sitting in the first-class seat, he felt a mix of disbelief and overwhelming gratitude. He was a retired Marine named Jack Whitmore who had served in Vietnam and later worked tirelessly to support fellow veterans. He had never expected to meet a celebrity like The Rock, let alone experience such a generous act of kindness, but the story didn't end there. Midway through the flight, a young passenger approached The Rock, holding a crumpled piece of paper and a pen. The boy couldn't have been more than 10 years old, and he wore a wide-eyed expression of admiration. "Mr. Rock," he stammered, "can I have your autograph?" The Rock grinned and took the paper. "Of course, buddy. What's your name?" "Liam," the boy replied, his voice barely above a whisper. As The Rock signed the paper, he struck up a conversation with Liam, who revealed that he was traveling with his mother to visit his grandfather, a fellow veteran. "Grandpa always talks about how much he loves your movies," Liam said. "He's going to be so excited when I tell him I met you." The Rock's expression softened. "Your grandpa sounds like a great man," he said. "Tell him I said thank you for his service." By the time the plane landed, word of The Rock's gesture had spread beyond the confines of the aircraft. Passengers shared their videos and photos online, and the story quickly went viral. Social media lit up with praise for The Rock's humility and generosity, with hashtags like #TheRockKindness and #VeteransHero trending worldwide. The veteran Jack was equally moved by what transpired. After the flight, he and The Rock exchanged contact information, and Jack shared more about his life. He talked about his work with a nonprofit organization that supported veterans struggling with homelessness and mental health challenges. Listening intently, The Rock was inspired by Jack's unwavering dedication to helping others despite the obstacles he had faced. The unbelievable part came weeks later. One morning, Jack received a phone call from The Rock's team inviting him to a special event. Curious and slightly bewildered, Jack accepted the invitation. He arrived at a grand venue packed with veterans, their families, and supporters. To his astonishment, The Rock was there, standing on stage with a microphone in hand. "Ladies and gentlemen," The Rock began, his voice booming through the room, "today is about honoring heroes like Jack Whitmore. His service to our country and his continued work for veterans inspire us all." As applause erupted, The Rock unveiled a surprise. He had partnered with a major sponsor to donate a significant sum to Jack's nonprofit organization. The funds would help expand its reach, providing housing, counseling, and resources for countless veterans in need. Tears filled Jack's eyes as he stood in the spotlight, humbled and overwhelmed. The moment was more than just a grand gesture. It was a testament to the ripple effect of kindness. What had started as a simple exchange of seats on a flight had grown into a life-changing event for many. For The Rock, the experience served as a reminder of the power of compassion and gratitude. He often spoke about the importance of giving back, but this particular encounter stayed with him. It wasn't about fame or recognition. It was about using his platform to make a real difference. As the event concluded, The Rock and Jack shared a heartfelt hug, solidifying a bond that had formed in the unlikeliest of circumstances. Cameras captured the moment, but what truly mattered was the connection between two men from vastly different worlds who had come together through a shared sense of respect and humanity. In the days and months that followed, Jack's nonprofit thrived with the newfound support. The funds allowed them to open new facilities, hire more staff, and provide aid to hundreds of veterans who had previously been out of reach. Meanwhile, The Rock continued to champion the cause, raising awareness and encouraging others to step up for those who had sacrificed so much. The story of The Rock giving up his first-class seat for a veteran became a symbol of selflessness and humility. It reminded people that even small acts of kindness could spark extraordinary outcomes. For The Rock, it was a moment that reaffirmed his belief in the goodness of people and the importance of honoring those who had served. And for Jack, it was a chapter in his life he would never forget. A reminder that heroes come in many forms, and sometimes they show up when you least expect them. As the weeks rolled on, the story of The Rock's act of kindness continued to resonate far beyond the initial flight. Media outlets picked up the tale, amplifying the story's reach and ensuring it remained in the public consciousness. People across the globe were touched by the simple but profound gesture, inspiring many to reflect on their own lives and how they could contribute to the well-being of others. What started as a single moment on an airplane became a cultural touchstone for empathy and gratitude, snowballing into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. For The Rock, the experience had lit a spark that wouldn't be extinguished. He had always been vocal about his gratitude for his fans and the life he'd built, but this particular encounter with Jack Whitmore reignited his sense of purpose. He began dedicating even more of his time and resources to causes supporting veterans, realizing that their stories were often overlooked in a fast-moving world. What struck him most was the realization that Jack, despite his advanced age and limited resources, was still tirelessly working to uplift his fellow veterans. This level of selflessness inspired The Rock to think even bigger. One day, while meeting with his team, The Rock floated an idea that had been percolating in his mind since the event honoring Jack's work. "We've got the resources, the platform, and the ability to make a real impact," he said. "What if we didn't just donate money to causes like Jack's? What if we created something lasting, something that could stand as a beacon for veterans across the country?" The room fell silent as the team absorbed his words. The Rock continued, "I'm talking about a foundation. one that provides not just financial support, but real, tangible resources for veterans: housing, job training, counseling, medical care, the works. Let's make it happen. His team, accustomed to The Rock's larger than life ideas, immediately got to work. Over the next few months, plans were drawn up, partnerships were formed, and logistics were finalized. The result was the launch of the Gratitude Initiative, a nonprofit organization aimed at addressing the multifaceted challenges faced by veterans. The Foundation's mission was simple yet ambitious: to honor those who had served by ensuring they had the tools and support needed to thrive in civilian life. To mark the official launch of the Gratitude Initiative, The Rock organized a massive event at a stadium, inviting veterans, military families, and supporters from all walks of life. The event was a blend of celebration and solemn recognition, featuring heartfelt speeches, musical performances, and personal stories from veterans who had overcome incredible odds. Jack Whitmore, of course, was a guest of honor, standing by The Rock's side as the two men shared the stage. During his speech, The Rock addressed the audience with the same sincerity and charisma that had endeared him to millions. "This isn't just about me or any one person," he said, his voice carrying across the packed stadium. "It's about all of us coming together to honor the sacrifices of those who've given so much. They deserve more than our gratitude. They deserve our action." The Gratitude Initiative quickly gained momentum, with donations pouring in from corporations, celebrities, and everyday citizens inspired by the cause. The Foundation's first major project was the construction of a state-of-the-art housing complex for homeless veterans, complete with on-site counseling services, vocational training programs, and community spaces designed to foster connection and camaraderie. The complex, named Whitmore House in honor of Jack, became a model for similar projects across the country. Meanwhile, Jack found himself thrust into an unexpected spotlight. Media outlets clamored for interviews, and his story became a source of inspiration for countless people. While the attention was overwhelming at times, Jack handled it with the humility and grace that defined his character. He saw the newfound recognition as an opportunity to amplify the voices of other veterans and shine a light on the challenges they faced. One particularly touching moment came during a live television interview when Jack was asked about his thoughts on The Rock's efforts. Fighting back tears, he said, "I never expected any of this. I just did what I thought was right, trying to help my fellow veterans. But what Dwayne has done, what he's created, it's beyond anything I could have imagined. It's proof that one act of kindness can change the world." As the months turned into years, the Gratitude Initiative continued to grow, expanding its reach and impact. Beyond housing projects, the Foundation launched a series of programs aimed at addressing the root causes of issues faced by veterans. Partnerships with major companies created job opportunities tailored to veterans' skills and experiences. Collaboration with healthcare providers ensured that veterans had access to high-quality medical care, including mental health services. Educational programs provided scholarships and training for those looking to build new careers. One of the most innovative projects spearheaded by the Gratitude Initiative was the creation of a mentorship network that paired veterans with young people in their communities. The program, called Bridges of Honor, was designed to foster mutual understanding and respect between generations, while allowing veterans to share their wisdom and experiences. The program became an instant success, with countless stories emerging of life-changing connections between mentors and mentees. Throughout all this, The Rock remained deeply involved, attending events, meeting with veterans, and personally overseeing many of the Foundation's initiatives. Despite his busy schedule as one of Hollywood's biggest stars, he made it a priority to stay connected to the cause. For him, it wasn't just a charitable endeavor, it was a mission that had become integral to his identity. The story of The Rock and Jack Whitmore became the stuff of legend, frequently referenced in articles, documentaries, and speeches about the power of kindness. It also inspired a wave of similar acts of generosity, with individuals and organizations stepping up to support veterans in their own ways. Schools organized fundraisers, businesses offered discounts and free services to veterans, and communities rallied together to create welcoming environments for those who had served. As the years went by, The Rock often reflected on the chain of events that had brought him to this point. He thought about that fateful flight, The moment he'd seen Jack standing in the aisle and the simple decision to give up his first class seat. It was a small act, but one that had set off a cascade of events far beyond what he could have predicted. The experience reinforced his belief that the greatest impacts often come from the smallest beginnings. In a rare moment of introspection during an interview, The Rock said, "I think about Jack a lot. I think about the sacrifices he made, the challenges he faced, and the way he never stopped fighting for others. If there's one thing I've learned from him, it's that real heroes don't wear capes. They wear courage. And sometimes, all it takes to honor that courage is a simple act of kindness." For Jack, the years that followed were some of the most meaningful of his life. He saw firsthand the transformative impact of the Gratitude Initiative and felt immense pride knowing that his own journey had played a role in its creation. Though his health began to decline with age, he remained active in the foundation, mentoring younger veterans and sharing his story whenever he could. In his final years, Jack often spoke about the legacy he hoped to leave behind. "It's not about me," he would say. "It's about the lives we touch, the people we help, and the love we share. That's what really matters." When Jack eventually passed away, he was honored with a grand ceremony attended by veterans, military leaders, and civilians whose lives he had impacted. The Rock delivered a heartfelt eulogy, describing Jack as a true American hero and a beacon of hope for all who knew him. The event was a celebration of Jack's life and a reaffirmation of the values he had lived by: service, sacrifice, and kindness. The legacy of The Rock's act of kindness and Jack's unwavering dedication lived on through the Gratitude Initiative, which continued to grow and evolve in the years that followed. It became a symbol of what could be achieved when people came together to support one another, transcending differences and divisions in the name of a common cause. The story of The Rock and Jack Whitmore's remarkable bond continued to inspire, not just within the United States, but internationally. Veterans and service members worldwide began to draw attention to the universal struggles faced by those who had dedicated their lives to serving their nations. Governments, private organizations, and communities started adopting similar initiatives, many of which were inspired by the Gratitude Initiative. The impact of one man giving up his first-class seat had become a symbol of how compassion could transcend borders, transform lives, and create a global movement. One particularly striking example of this was how the Gratitude Initiative's success inspired a similar organization in Canada. The Canadian branch of the program focused on aiding veterans who had served in peacekeeping missions around the world. In partnership with the Gratitude Initiative, this organization launched a groundbreaking program called Echo of Service. The program emphasized reintegration strategies for veterans returning to civilian life and included workshops on financial literacy, career coaching, and mental health support. Through this partnership, The Rock frequently visited Canada, using his platform to champion these international efforts, which strengthened bonds between veteran communities across nations. Meanwhile, in the United States, the Gratitude Initiative expanded its scope even further. Recognizing the challenges faced by the families of veterans, the foundation developed comprehensive family support systems. This included counseling services for spouses, after-school programs for children, and peer support groups where families could connect and share their experiences. These efforts didn't just support individual veterans but helped to rebuild the social fabric around them, creating stronger and more resilient communities. One of the most groundbreaking projects spearheaded by the Gratitude Initiative was the creation of a digital platform called Veterans Connect. It was a state-of-the-art app designed to bridge the gap between veterans and the resources available to them. Through the app, users could locate nearby housing options, apply for jobs tailored to their skills, find medical providers specializing in veteran care, and access peer-to-peer support groups. The platform even included a feature where veterans could share their stories, encouraging others to seek help and fostering a sense of belonging within the community. With The Rock's backing and promotional efforts, Veterans Connect became a household name, changing the way veteran services were accessed across the country. Despite his busy schedule, The Rock remained deeply hands-on with these initiatives. One evening, during a surprise visit to one of the housing complexes funded by the Gratitude Initiative, he met Sarah, a former Army medic who had struggled with homelessness after her service. Sarah had recently moved into a new home provided by the initiative, and she shared her story with The Rock. Through tears, she recounted the hardships she had faced transitioning to civilian life, including the emotional toll of leaving the battlefield behind and the challenges of finding steady employment. Now, thanks to the initiative, Sarah was not only housed, but also enrolled in a nursing program, ready to use her skills to help others once again. The encounter with Sarah left a profound impact on The Rock. That evening, as he sat alone reflecting on her story, he felt a deep sense of responsibility to continue the work he had started. The next morning, he announced the creation of the Veterans Resilience Fund, a special program designed to provide emergency financial assistance for veterans facing crises such as eviction, medical emergencies, or unexpected unemployment. The fund was established with an initial donation of $5 million from The Rock himself, with a challenge issued to corporations and philanthropists to match his contribution. The fund became a safety net for thousands of veterans, offering them a lifeline during their most vulnerable moments. As the Gratitude Initiative grew, so did its influence in the public sphere. Veterans who had once felt invisible found their voices amplified, not just within their own communities, but in broader conversations about policy and representation. The Rock leveraged his immense popularity to advocate for systemic change, meeting with lawmakers and pushing for legislation that would improve healthcare, housing, and education for veterans. He often emphasized the importance of viewing veterans as assets to society rather than as burdens. These men and women are leaders, problem solvers, and protectors, he would say in his impassioned speeches. They've given us their best, and it's our turn to do the same for them. One of the most emotional moments in the Gratitude Initiative's journey came during a special reunion event for veterans and their families. Held in Washington, D.C., the event was attended by thousands of people, including veterans from every era of American history: World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, and more recent conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Rock, as always, was at the center of it, shaking hands, listening to stories, and offering words of encouragement. During the event, a young girl named Emily approached the stage. She was holding a framed photograph of her father, a soldier who had been killed in action. Emily, no older than 12, spoke into the microphone, her voice trembling but strong. She shared how much her father had loved his country and how proud he would have been of the support being shown to veterans and their families. The crowd was silent as she spoke, many wiping away tears. When she finished, The Rock stepped forward, his own eyes glistening. He knelt down to her level, hugged her tightly, and promised her that her father's sacrifice would never be forgotten. The photograph Emily held became a symbol of the event and a reminder of the ultimate price many had paid for their service. Inspired by her story, the Gratitude Initiative launched a scholarship program in honor of fallen soldiers, ensuring their children could pursue higher education without financial barriers. Emily was named the first recipient of the scholarship, a decision that brought the audience to its feet in a standing ovation. Behind the scenes, The Rock's dedication to veterans began to influence his work in Hollywood. He collaborated on projects that highlighted the realities of military life, ensuring that veteran stories were told with authenticity and respect. One such project was a feature film he co-produced and starred in, based on the life of a veteran who had overcome PTSD to become a community leader. The film was both a critical and commercial success, with proceeds from the movie's release donated directly to the Gratitude Initiative. As the years passed, The Rock's impact on the veteran community continued to grow, but he remained grounded in the lessons he had learned from Jack Whitmore. The bond they had shared served as a constant reminder of the importance of humility, gratitude, and service to others. Even as The Rock's fame and influence reached unprecedented heights, he often reflected on that fateful flight and the decision that had set everything in motion. Meanwhile, Jack's legacy also endured. The non-profit organization he had founded before meeting The Rock expanded its reach, now operating under the umbrella of the Gratitude Initiative. Jack's philosophy of helping one veteran at a time became the guiding principle for the organization's grassroots efforts, ensuring that even as the initiative scaled up, it never lost its personal touch. Volunteers were trained to meet veterans where they were, listening to their stories, understanding their needs, and offering tailored support. In a world often defined by division and disconnection, The story of The Rock and Jack Whitmore served as a unifying force. Schools used the story as part of their character education programs, teaching children the value of kindness and empathy. Businesses incorporated its lessons into their corporate social responsibility initiatives, finding ways to support veteran employees and customers. Even within the entertainment industry, the story became a blueprint for how public figures could use their platforms for meaningful change. In his later years, The Rock often spoke about the legacy he hoped to leave behind. "It's not about fame or fortune," he would say. "It's about the lives you touch and the difference you make. If I've done my job right, the world will be just a little better for the people who come after me." The Gratitude Initiative, Veterans Connect, Whitmore House, the Veterans Resilience Fund, Bridges of Honor, and countless other programs stood as living proof of that philosophy. And as The Rock continued his journey, inspiring millions with his words and actions, he carried with him the memory of Jack Whitmore, a man who had shown the world that true heroism is found not in glory, but in service. As time progressed, the story of The Rock and Jack Whitmore became more than a legend. It became a framework for how to transform empathy into action. Beyond the borders of the United States, this framework began inspiring global initiatives that were uniquely tailored to the needs of veterans in different countries. In Australia, for example, a program emerged to support veterans transitioning into careers in agriculture, drawing inspiration from the Gratitude Initiative's vocational training model. Similarly, in the United Kingdom, a veteran-led mentorship scheme focused on pairing former military personnel with struggling youth in underprivileged areas. The Rock's influence extended into unexpected areas of societal development. His partnership with educational institutions introduced programs that encouraged children to engage with the history and stories of veterans. Schools began hosting living history events where students could sit with veterans, hear their firsthand accounts, and participate in projects designed to preserve those stories for future generations. These initiatives created bridges of understanding between the younger generation and those who had served, ensuring the sacrifices of veterans were neither forgotten nor diminished by time. Meanwhile, the entertainment industry took notice of the paradigm The Rock had set. Major production companies began to follow his example, committing to hire veterans in roles both behind and in front of the camera. These efforts resulted in an influx of authentic storytelling, bringing to life the nuanced, often untold experiences of service members. Films, documentaries, and even television series delved into themes of resilience, loss, and hope, creating a cultural shift that portrayed veterans as complex individuals with unique struggles and triumphs. The Gratitude Initiative continued to innovate, launching a unique program called Paths of Purpose, designed for veterans nearing the end of their military careers. This program focused on personalized coaching, helping service members identify their passions and translate their skills into meaningful civilian careers. By integrating workshops, one-on-one mentorship, and partnerships with corporations, Paths of Purpose gave veterans not just jobs, but fulfilling new chapters in their lives. The results were transformative. Veterans who had once felt adrift found themselves thriving, contributing to their communities in ways they never thought possible. One of the most groundbreaking elements of the Gratitude Initiative was its commitment to addressing invisible wounds. The organization partnered with cutting-edge researchers and medical professionals to create specialized programs for veterans coping with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, and other psychological challenges. They established wellness retreats in serene locations, combining traditional therapy with activities like art, music, and equine therapy to promote healing. These retreats became sanctuaries for veterans seeking solace and a renewed sense of self. For The Rock, the greatest reward was witnessing the ripple effect of these efforts. He often received letters from veterans and their families sharing how their lives had been transformed by the Gratitude Initiative. Each story fueled his commitment to the cause, reminding him that what had begun as a simple decision to give up a first-class seat had grown into a movement rooted in compassion and purpose. These moments reaffirmed a universal truth. When people come together with open hearts, the impossible becomes achievable, and the world moves closer to its best self. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on The Rock giving up his first-class seat for a veteran? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.